Hi, my name is Mike Boone, and I am the Director of Adaptive Sports Iowa. Thanks to the generous support of Variety, the children's charity of Iowa, we're able to bring you this adaptive track and field instructional series. Adaptive Sports Iowa is proud to help athletes all around the state of Iowa compete in their junior high and high school teams. Our goal is that these videos will help coaches and athletes understand adaptive track and field and become confident in their equipment. If you would like more information, please visit our website, adaptivesportsiowa.org. And thank you for your time. I'd like to be able to discuss with you briefly kind of just the setup of a racing wheelchair. There's obviously a chair designed to fit the athlete that's going to be using it. Now, because no one is the same size, and especially with this demographic, the athletes are going to have a lot of different variables that go into it. There's a lot of different things you can do to get the chair set up correctly, but there's also some component standpoint that I really would like to cover a little bit, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and they kind of know how these things operate. First and foremost, when you're sizing an athlete into a chair, understand that a chair is not one size fits all. These chairs are custom welded to certain sizes to fit those athletes. So unfortunately, there's nothing you really can do for the size of the athlete, but matching the ability of the athlete to the chair is something you can do a little bit easier. So an example of that is I've got two chairs here. The chair right here, this is set up for a kneeling athlete. This is going to be an athlete that's going to be sitting in the chair, actually kneeling. So their feet would be down into this little pocket down here, and they'll be sitting on their knees kind of in this position, okay? So this is for an athlete, obviously, that can bend their legs past 90 degrees. This chair on the other side here, this is actually set up for someone to sit in a more traditional stance. Down here, you'll notice that we actually have this one set up for a foot plate. So the person that would be using this chair will be someone who needs to be a little bit more upright due to their circumstances. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the structure of the chair and the components on there. That way, everyone kind of have a good base understanding about how these chairs are set up. Because typically, when we go and drop off one of these chairs for the first time, typically when we go and meet with a new athlete and meet with a coach, when we bring these chairs up, typically it's the first time that they've ever physically been around one of these chairs. They've usually seen pictures of them, but this is the first time they've ever seen them, and it can be a very, very complex thing. These chairs are not, initially, are not very easily understood pieces of equipment. They're very complex, and they're designed for a very specific purpose, for racing. So as a result, there's some things about them that I think we should all understand and know. So I'm just going to start from the front and kind of move to the back. So the front. So the front wheel obviously is a different diameter than the back. The wheel on this chair is set up. This is actually a tubeless tire. Okay, so these are designed to take on a lot of air pressure. Know that whenever you use these chairs on the track, it's good to always top the air pressure off every time you use it, for either practice and for competition. What I've always told my athletes is top off the wheels at usually about 100 psi. Now, on the sides of the wheels, it should say, on the sides of the tires, I should say, it should actually say what the pounds per square inch is. Make sure you get close to that. What I like to do is I like to usually top off the wheels about 100 psi for practice. And then for competition days, I'll actually kick that up to about 110. Understand that the harder the wheel, the less friction there is on the track. Theoretically, that's the faster the chair is going to go. So if you kick that up a little bit more for race days, you're going to have less friction for the track. So when we're discussing the hardness of the wheels or the pounds per square inch that we use for these tires, it's important to make sure that they're always set. You're always set to whatever they're written to on the side of the wheels. So what I like to do, so what you need to do is when you see these wheels, you need to make sure you understand what kind of nozzle they are. Okay, so the nozzle on these are going to be a little bit of those thin ones. So make sure you always have a way of inflating tires that you can do at practice and for competition. I like to use just a basic pump. But make sure the pump can get, so this one can actually go up to 160 PSI. You've got a gauge right there. You want to make sure you can get a pump that actually get up higher than what these can get to. Secondly, you want to make sure that you've got a nozzle, a nozzle that actually fits the valve here, okay? So the one that I have, it actually fits a Presta and a Schrader valve on here. So it's always good to have one of these available. That way, whenever you can always top off the wheels, and also obviously if you get a flat, you can inflate it as well. But it's really important to maintain good air pressure, because the lower those get, the harder it is to push on the chair, and it's really going to be detrimental to the athlete. So once we get to the back of the back of the chair here, this is where the athlete is going to be sitting. So a couple things to understand about this. So first of all, you've got the push rims. So typically the push rims are going to be wrapped in a rubber coating of some kind. That way, when you're using the gloves, which we're going to talk about in a different segment, but the athlete's actually going to be using a specialized glove that has a rubber coating on the outside. So when the athlete is using that glove against this push rim, it's very tacky, and that's what allows them to be able to push forward. These push rims are not designed to be held onto like typical everyday chair rims where their fingers would actually wrap around, because these wheels are going to be moving so fast and there's so many spokes on here that if they actually wrap their hands around here, they're going to get caught up and they're going to cause an injury. So as a result, these are designed so they can actually be used with specialized gloves. If you go on to zoom in here, you'll notice the way that this push rim is attached to this wheel is by these little clamps that are all around the push rim. You'll know the push rim or the wheel is on the correct side of the chair, depending on how the push rim is attached to it, because these push rims are designed to push against the spokes, not be pulled against. So you'll notice right here that all of these clamps are just a little offset to the right or on the back side of these push rims. So I know that this chair is on the correct side or this wheel is on the correct side of the chair. If it was wrong, you'll notice if this wheel was on the wrong side of the chair, these clamps would be offset so they'd actually be pulling against the spokes as opposed to being pushed against the spokes. So it's always good to make sure when you get these wheels on that you confirm they're on the right side. Otherwise, you're not going to be using these wheels the way that they're designed. So it's just a safety thing. It's always important whenever you first get on a chair, just like you would with a bicycle, is you want to make sure you can go through and make sure all of your bolts are tightened up. So you got your bolt holding on the wheels in the back, you have your bolt holding on the front here, the bolts on the steering column, all that kind of stuff. It's always good to go through and make sure that the chair is set up and safe for the athlete. On the back of the chair, again, this is all depending on, usually chairs, this is where we're going to set them up specifically for the different types of athletes. So this specific chair, we have a Velcro strap that's run along the back that will be around the chair, that will be around the athlete. And when they're in here, their feet will be down in the basket. Now in this chair over here, it's set up a little bit differently in that it's set up for someone who's going to be seated in a traditional position. So we have the footrest down here, and then we have the footrest down here, and obviously they'll be sitting in this position. Up top, it's set up a little bit differently. This one actually has a ratcheting strap, so you can ratchet them in. This one's a little bit easier to use sometimes for them to use independently. We also have the Velcro straps that are set up along here as well. Just like on this one, you're going to have Velcro strapping all along the back, along the bottom. So those are really easy to loosen up or tighten up depending on how the athlete's in here. So you can kind of adjust it and make it really their own thing. I want to go ahead and talk about the steering mechanism that you typically find on these racing wheelchairs, okay? Because this is probably the area that causes the most stress for a new athlete and for a coach to understand, okay, shoot, how does this thing even operate? Which is a good thing to understand if you're going to be using a racing wheelchair. So first and foremost, you've got the handbrake right here. Now here's the thing to understand about these brakes. These are not designed to be used during races or during competition or really when the chair is moving at all, because it's just a simple physics thing. So you notice you've got the lever right here, and it's attached to the front wheel just like you would see on any kind of like a bicycle. However, all the mass of the athlete is all back here, all back over these wheels. So if you can imagine, if the wheelchair user is pushing forward and they reach down and they want to stop, and all their weight's back here, but the wheel with the brake is up here, all that's going to happen is this wheel's going to stop rolling, but the chair's not going to stop. So you're just going to skid, and you're going to wear down the cushion on these tires here, or wear down the tread on these tires, and really is not going to be effective at all as a brake. This is really designed to be used once you're sitting on the start line, or you're sitting still and you don't want to move. Then you lean forward and push this down, and that can hold you in place. But other than that, that's really not what this lever is designed for at all. So keep that in mind, that all the stopping and all the going is going to be, all the stopping and moving will be done with the push rims. That's the main control of these. This is not anything more than just sitting still. So for steering is it takes a little bit of nuance to figure out. So obviously, if you're racing on a track is oval, and you're doing a 200, a 400 or above, you need to figure out how to get that wheelchair safely around the corners, and in most cases, staying within the lane. Well, it's hard to steer if both of your arms are being used to push the wheelchair forward. So what this is designed to do is actually able to hold a curve. So when you go into a track, you need to make sure you understand, if you're going to be doing any kind of a race with a curve, that you know what lane your race is going to take place in, because you need to make sure you have access to that lane ahead of time so you can set the compensator. So the way these are designed is you have this component right here. It's called a compensator, okay? So we're going to back off these a little bit. So what's this designed to do is, once you get it pushed into, you have this pushed into a certain direction, it's going to hold that for a curve, or if you're going straight down down the straightaway, it's going to hold straight there as well. So the way it's designed is, if you push this all the way to the right, it's going to hold straight. If you move this to the left, you'll notice the wheel moves as well, and it's going to be able to hold a curve. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of adjustments with this lever right here, because this will determine how aggressive or how straight a curve is, or how, yeah, this is going to determine how aggressive a turn is going to be, or how wide a turn is going to be. Okay, so as you're going into a curve, you're going to be pushing along, and then you're going to reach down. So right now, this is straight. They enter a curve, and they slap that to the left. So the way you adjust this is, the sharper the curve, you're going to be bringing this compensator, the limiter bolt out, or basically you're going to be moving it lefty-loosey to go out. Or if you need to make it a little bit more straight, you're going to be going righty-tighty to go straight, making it less curved. Okay, that's pretty much with this one. So if we move over to the top end, you'll notice it's about the same. It's kind of designed differently, but the same thing. You've got the brake lever set up. Again, likewise, this is not set up to be a brake to stop you. It's basically to hold you steady. And then for this one, you've got the compensator set up with this triangle pattern, which is kind of different from the other one, but they all basically operate the same.